Yeah, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you, Arsenio Dominguez, Secretary General of the IMO. I think we all know what the IMO is these days. It's been a very remarkable year. Last time we spoke was during SMM 1 year ago. You probably won't remember, but I do. Thank you.
It's a smaller room than this one.
But what a year it has been. So much has happened. And by the way, nice selection of color on your suit.
Yes, we didn't coordinate, by the way. Pure coincidence.
What about your shoes?
I know I'm not as trendy as you are. I need to learn.
Anyway, let's get down to some business talk. So it has been a very important year for the IMO and for the world of shipping. And with the MEPC vote in April, what are your reflections on the lack of consensus and the necessity for voting to get the net zero framework across the finish line? And there are a few more questions to this. And what are your expectations for the adoption meeting next month? And do you worry that political division among member states could block progress?
How about a pen and paper? Because I can't keep up with this. You may have to remind me some of the questions now.
So what was the reflections on the lack of consensus? Let's start there.
So let's start over there. First of all, I know you're launching the report today.
Maritime Forecast.
The Maritime, yes. Next time, do share in advance. It will prepare me better for this exchange. So, I don't know why we have to look at what happened in April in a negative way. Let me start over there. There is consensus to move forward. There are disagreements in some areas, and we have those member states that have agreed to the compromise approach, if I can put it that way, on the understanding that is further work to do, that this is not something that is going to happen overnight. The member states that consider that this may have a negative impact in shipping or in the global economy. Others member states consider that we're not going far enough and we're actually not going to meet the goals of decarbonizing. But this is what we do at IMO. And you're all also focusing on, I think you call it the vote next October, which you must know more than I do, because I call it the session where we're going to adopt the amendments. How we do it, we have several mechanisms. And voting is one of those that exists in international law, in the law of the treaties. In several countries, we actually even vote as well to elect officials. So I don't know why we get to the point where having a vote, it's suddenly a negative thing. It actually recognizes that we give everyone the opportunity to express their opinion, to raise their concerns. We have had votes in the past at IMO. This is not the first time. I always will campaign that, of course, we don't reach to that point, but I respect that if member states want to have very clear, specific decisions on certain topics, and that means using some of the articles of the conventions, they have the right to do so. I'm still confident that we will continue to move forward next October. We have areas that further work needs to be done, concerns that we need to take note of and then act upon it. But it doesn't mean that we're divided. The organization continues working forward in the same objective that it was agreed back in 2023. And of course, as we progress and as countries also, together with the industry, learn from the implementation of this, and we hit the marks of all the goals that demonstrated, the way that was my interpretation, that we can achieve the goal by around 2050, then we're on the next step. But I don't see it as a negative. It's part of the process. I think it actually, also, this transparency that exists and that we are highlighting even more at the organization. We will still look always for consensus. If every now and then we have to do the articles of the conventions, it's part of the process.
I understand. And you are optimistic it will be adopted in October?
Do I have to repeat it again? Yes.
I just wanted to highlight it.
No, that's absolutely fine. I am optimistic, very positive that this will happen next October. That's next month, right? Yes. Trying to remember where I am right now.
So, yeah.
And of course, taking on board all the information that we continue to gather, the concerns that are out there, the additional explanations that will be developed through the implementation guidelines, and then by 2027, with the entry into force, we will be in an even better place. We've been asked to provide more and more clarity, and trust me, I think the more we do, the more we're requested as well.
That's natural. Yeah. Thank you very much, Arsenio, for being very clear on that. I didn't expect anything less, but it's really good to hear from you.
Can I ask you back at some point then if you agree with me?
Yeah, but
it's a fireside chat. It goes both ways.
But for now, I'm asking the questions, all right?
It's all right. I'm used to this. Don't take anything personal. A good relationship here.
Yeah. But let's now assume that you are correct. It will be adopted.
Whoa, no. Asking the questions is one thing. Interpreting what I'm saying different. You can't assume if I'm correct. That's not how we're going to move forward.
I think this is going to be difficult to keep on time, Arsenio.
I've been late on every single event today.
Let me put it this way. So the Net Zero Fund will collect a significant amount of money. And we just heard it's in the range of 10 to 15 billion US dollar per year or more. Now, the industry is naturally very concerned how those funds will be managed, how much will come back to the shipping industry, how much will be used to continue to innovate and develop decarbonization pathways for the industry. And some are very concerned that this might only be, say, eligible for niche decarbonization projects and not at all for energy efficiency projects. What's your view?
That we have a very good framework already established in the IMO GHG strategy of 2023, as well as in the regulations that will be adopted next month, where we highlighted the fact that there is a reward mechanism. I can't give you percentages or specific figure if you ask me right now. There are questions that I cannot answer, and I don't have a problem explaining that. But it's part of the negotiations that we will continue to have. But we have outlined the rewards mechanisms that it will go back into the industry as well, particularly the early movers and those going for the green technologies, as well as the zero and net zero, near zero fuels. Infrastructure development when it comes to ports, bunkering. You mentioned now reception facilities, which is also within the MARPOL Convention, so it's another area for us to support research and development, and that includes fuels as well as the technology. The just an equitable transition, and here in particular the small island developing states, least developed countries, training, because we need to support the workforce as well. I think you talked about, I was paying attention, 33,000 seafarers that need training and upscaling by 2030. Again, this is one of those areas where we will be able to support it. When we're going into these negotiations, again, they're going to be inclusive. We always have the member states present there. There will be a board that, of course, has been agreed, will provide that guidance. The shipping industry is represented on these discussions, and of course, your input is always welcome, it's always heard of, and we act upon it. We can't please everybody. That doesn't mean that if some input comes in and is not reflected immediately in the outcome for any discussion, not just on the environment, it's because we need to find consensus, and we need to manage that. For transparency, it is expected as well that IMO is the one that is going to take the lead in managing the fund. And of course, I'm already working with my team in relation of the proposals that we can put forward to the member states. This sounds simplistic, okay? But I do like sometimes just not to complicate our lives. We have experiences of all the funds of the organizations. We have experiences with the internal funds that we manage. Yes, the amount will be different, but then is the administration and the support that we will receive from those that also have the experience and that we can partner with in order to actually do what we say and that we had agreed that we're going to do, is collect this between 10 and $12 billion a year is what we calculate. I like your 15. That sounds better for some member states that consider that we need to go further. And that would allow us to reinvest into the sector. And we have agreed to that we need to support the decarbonization of the sector. And I've been very open. Once we help the sector, when we move to that, then we can explore if there is anything else that we can do, as the shipping sector is quite broad.
Are you familiar with the concept that we introduced on carbon capture corridors? Is this also something that could be
Carbon capture corridors.
So we say that.
Was that at the time that I arrived or before I arrived?
Maybe just before you arrived, to be kind.
He didn't share the report with me in advance.
No, but the point was that if you consider the large bulker tankers and container ships, if you are able to have reception facilities in 20 ports, you can basically reduce emission by 20%.
Which again continues to demonstrate that there are several actions that we can put in place in order to meet the goals. I think on the numbers was even saying that will be the equivalent of the 25 million tons that will be required to meet the 2030. I'm speaking very fast. I'm trying to remember what I just heard. And this is where we continue to support the establishment of the Green Maritime Corridors, to provide us with that feedback, that information that can benefit the way that the rules are going to evolve. Yeah.
Very good. I would like to I'm not sure whether you read Tradewinds, but I got a heading last week.
Oh, did you? I didn't know.
No, might be just as good. It says that I slammed the IMO. Don't take any offense.
I don't take anything personal. Do you think that I will be sitting here?
But what I said was that why put roadblocks in the LNG pathway? And the point is that we see that especially the well-to-tank factors that are being discussed at the moment are very high, maybe undocumented. And there are studies out there that show that more realistic upstream chains will produce much lower well-to-tank factors. And that might sound like a trivial thing, but it has a big impact on how long the LNG pathway will be. And considering the millions, billions of investments going into both the port infrastructure, ships and bunkering vessels, what's your reflections on that? Is that something that could be worked with?
So I do read the news. That's fair to say, right? And don't worry, the reality is I don't take anything personal. That's what IMO is there about. I prefer that you offload on us and you stay together rather than you create divisions among yourselves. It's the same thing that I say to the member states. LNG. There are those that are in favor of LNG, and of course you will know as well that there has been a real push at IMO to basically ban LNG, and that is not a fuel that is going to lead us to the results that we expect. I continue to reiterate that LNG, I see it as a transition fuel and a fuel in transition. And it was mentioned as well in the report when we talk about bio-LNG. You mentioned that right now we're still discussing, so we haven't finalized all the relevant aspects in relation to the life cycle assessments of the different fuels, and that includes LNG. There's something that we also need to recognize is that, yes, LNG provides additional benefits, but it's still a carbon-based fuel, still have issues, even though we're enhancing when it comes to methane, but the negative emissions from LNG have to be addressed. And if at some point the reality is that some contributions for the use of LNG, it's required as well to further enhance the viability of the fuel, that's something that we will have in the organization. But the door has not been closed. We haven't closed the door on LNG. It's now being perceived that this is one of those areas where the regulation is trying to phase him out, but it's not the case. Even with what we have on the table right now, you can see that we're not phasing out conventional fuels, because we acknowledge that we are going through a transition. Fuels are evolving. Technology, carbon capture and sequestration was very well highlighted here, is going to assist, and we need every little help in order to meet this challenging goal. Are necessary, but still challenging goal. But that's my view of LNG. it's still a field that we are working and we expect to continue to work in that. I'm also hoping that it will progress as we move forward.
Thank you. I think it's important that we at the IMO, but also we in the industry, keep all pathways open, because it's such a big difference whether you're a big container vessel owner operating between A and B, or whether you're in the tramp shipping and you don't basically have any clarity on where you operate. So,
can I praise you there for the closing remarks on the recommendations towards the ship owners? Because I think that those key points that were the closing slide are very good in relation to the consumption. You know, you said that the fuel that the best saving is the fuel that is not used. The strategies for the fuels for the future, to use all the possible technologies that are there. That is quite a really good and positive message, because that's what we've been calling for at the organizations before we adopted the 2023 strategy, into the early movers, the incentives that we expect from the governments, from the industry, the private sector, etc. on this. So I really appreciate that positive closure with all the challenges and the areas that are there in the report. But we're looking at this is, a forward-looking report, and things will evolve and get better as we learned as well.
Thank you very much, Arsenio. I really appreciate that you took the time to join me on this fireside chat without a fire.
Are we running out of time already? I was just getting started here.
Yeah, I wish we could have continued, but we could do it next year again.
Oh, will you have me next year?
Look at your shoes and maybe we'll...
Okay, so I'll change the shoes and I'm allowed to ask you questions as well.
Okay, is that the deal?
Deal. I have several witnesses here.
Thank you so much, Arsenio. It was a great pleasure to have you, and thank you for spending the time. And please give Arsenio a big hand, and we are supporters of the IMO. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was really good.